I'm V. I am the blabbering dork behind the Tumblr called Let's Learn Norwegian. And today, I finally sat my ass down, made this YouTube channel, and now we're gonna learn some basic Norwegian pronunciation. I want to preface this video with 3 quick things. 1, I want to apologize for my accent. I am clearly not a native English speaker. I've actually never held an English conversation in my entire life, unless you count ordering food at a restaurant. So I am bound to make some sort of mistake during the course of this video. Please forgive me for that, and don't be afraid to correct me down in the comments below. I also have a really weird tendency to mix a Norwegian accent with a bad British accent and a wannabe American accent. So that's all just a huge hot mess. But if you're having any trouble understanding what I'm saying, please just leave a comment down below or send me an ask on Tumblr and I will try to make some English subtitles for this video. Might take a while, but I will get there eventually. Number 2. I also want to apologize for the horrible video and audio quality. I am currently filming this entire thing on my iPhone 4? 5? I don't know, it's an iPhone. So the quality overall is very crappy. I'm very sorry, but I hope you're still able to learn something from this video. And if you guys want more videos like this, maybe I'll be able to get my hands on an actual camera. It is better to learn pronunciation through video and not through a blog post. Number 3, I am in no way, shape or form a teacher by any means. Even though Norwegian is my native language, I'm not really good at teaching people anything. And since Norwegian comes naturally to me, I might overlook things or I might not explain things that I should explain because to me it makes perfect sense. You know? So I won't be able to teach you Norwegian as well as a paid native Norwegian teacher would. But I wanted to give you guys a free and easy to access option. I might not be the best option, but I am free. That sounded a lot better in my head. Alright. God, I'm so sorry. That preface turned out to be a lot longer than I had initially planned. But I think that's everything? Yeah. I think so. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm gonna start with a little overview of the alphabet where I quickly go through the names of the letters. Then we're gonna go to the main part where I'll go through every single letter one by one and try to teach you the most common ways to pronounce them. And I say most common because there will be exceptions to these rules. And at the end, I'll try to make a little quiz for you guys where you can try to see how much you remember from this video and test your pronunciation up against mine. And then I'll probably add some silly bloopers at the end because God knows I'm gonna fuck up a lot during the course of this video. Now, I know some of you find these 3 letters to be slightly nerve-wracking, mostly because they don't exist in the English alphabet. However, the pronunciation of these letters are actually quite common in English, so you shouldn't be too worried about those. Here are some letters you should pay extra attention to, because from my experience, these are the letters people usually struggle with when they try to learn Norwegian. So keep an eye out for these ones, and don't let these 3 final letters scare you off. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, Ö, Å. A is slightly similar to the English A in car or the O in hot. However, I feel like it's slightly closer to the posh way of saying bath. Bath. That was bad. I'm so sorry. I can't do a posh accent. This vowel is something we call an open, back, unrounded vowel. Open means that your tongue should be as far away from the roof of your mouth as possible. So try to keep it flat down here. The vowel backness is back, which means that your tongue should be positioned as far back as you can put it without creating a constriction. And it's also unrounded, which means your lips should not be rounded. So, ah, ah. And when it comes to vowels, some of them have different pronunciations depending on if it's a short vowel or if it's a long vowel. But in this case, ah sounds pretty similar both ways. So some words in which you'll find the long ah would be bade, lag, sag. And some words in which you'll find the short ah would be words like ball, skal, tal. Be is pretty much the same as the English equivalent. You'll see it in words like bil, bruke, bra. It's pretty much the same as the English be, so I don't think you'll have a lot of issues with that one. Se is very uncommon. You'll only see it in a few loanwords and some names. And when you see it in a loanword or a name, it's usually pronounced the same as it would have been in English. So you might find it in words like bacon, or names like Christian, Christine, Charlotte. Det. Once again, very similar to the English D, so that one shouldn't be too difficult either. You can find it in words like dro, drage, dag. But one thing you need to keep in mind when you see this letter is that if it's at the end of a word, it can be silent. Some examples of this would be words like stund, jord, forstand. Okay, is a doozy. That might be the hardest letter. There are about, I'd say, 3 main pronunciations of this letter, and it's very hard to know when to use which. First, you have the long vowel. Whenever the is long, it's pronounced like e. I'd say it's quite similar to the ai sound in air. This vowel is close mid, front, and unrounded. Your tongue should be positioned about halfway, not too far up and not too far down, about in the middle. So your tongue should also be as far forward in your mouth as possible without creating any constrictions. And it's unrounded, so your lips should not be rounded. You'll find the long e in words like Erik, en, le. Now, the short version of the vowel e sounds slightly different. It's more of an sound. It's quite similar to the English e in the word bed, As for your tongue's position, it should be the same as when you say the long e, except your tongue should be a little bit lower. Some words in which you'll find the short e would be äpple, eske, ekkel. And lastly, if the e is a short e and followed immediately by an r, it will be pronounced like ah. Again, the position of your tongue should be about the same, but even lower than the short and long e. There are some exceptions. A very common exception to this rule is the word ad, where the e is actually a long vowel, but it's still pronounced like a. Erkefiende, dverg, berg. I think e might be the hardest letter, not because it's hard to pronounce, but because it's so hard to know which pronunciation to use. But in the end, it all just boils down to memorizing, unfortunately. F, quite simple, pretty much the same as in English. Shouldn't be too hard. Some words would be falk, folk, falle. Same thing goes for G. Most of the time, it should be very similar to the English G in get, glad, gro, gape. But here's the thing about G. If it's either immediately followed by J or a part of an ig ending, it will be silent. Gjøre, hemmelig. H is again very similar to the English H. Hånd, hare, har. But it will be silent if immediately followed by either je or the. hjem, hvor, hva. E should also be quite simple. It's pronounced like the E in B. The short vowel and the long vowel are quite similar. Vi, like, ville. Yeah is usually pronounced like the English Y in the word yes. Ja, jo, jul. K is pronounced like the English K in kick. Klasse, kanskje, klore. L is usually pronounced like the English L in light. Like, lite, lære. M usually pronounced like the English M. Man, mot, mene. N also pronounced like the English N. Noe, negativt, nei. O. O can be pretty hard. The long O sound is not very common in English, I think. Right now, I cannot think of an English word where you use the O sound. The closest I can get is, you know, when you see your friend or someone get hurt and you just kind of go, ooh. It's a bit like that. And I'm sure there are better examples, but I just cannot think of an English word that has that exact pronunciation right now. But if you have a word, just tell me in the comments. I would love to know. So this is a close, back, protruded vowel. So that means that your tongue should be as close to the roof of your mouth as possible without creating any constrictions, and as far back as possible, again without creating any constrictions. And your lips should be rounded and also slightly protruding, which means that you have to show a tiny bit of your inner lip. Kind of like you're making a kissy face. O, rose, rope, ro. And the short O sound is quite a bit simpler. It's pronounced like the O in more. Å, rogn, oppe, sove. P is pretty much like the English P. Pute, prate, peke. Q is very uncommon. You'll only see it in loan words. It's most likely pronounced like a K. Now, R is a bit tricky. We usually call it a rolling R, but it's actually not a rolling R. It's actually what we call a voiced alveolar flap, which means that your tongue only briefly touches the back of your teeth. It's actually a bit similar to the double T sound in butter. You just briefly touch your tongue to the back of your teeth. However, if the R is at the start of a word, it's harsher. It's very similar to the Spanish rolling R. But if it's in the middle of a word, it's soft. Rett, riktig, rope, bare, såre, lære. S is very similar to the English S, snakke, si, skrike, but if it's immediately followed by an L, you can pronounce it as sh, sh. Slange, slå, slag. T is also very similar to the English T, ta, tro, takke. But if you have a neuter noun in its definite form, there will be a T at the end of that word, but that T will be silent. Fjelle, falle, huset. Now, U is very hard because according to Wikipedia, it only occurs in Norwegian, Swedish, and occasionally Japanese. It's a bit close to the double O in choose, but not identical. We call it a close, central, compressed vowel, which means your tongue should be up against the roof of your mouth and about halfway forward. Not too far forward and not in the back, but about halfway. And the roundedness of your lips. It's not only rounded, but it's also what we call compressed, which means that your lips should be quite tense and drawn together without exposing any of your inner lip. Do you remember that when we said oo, you had to expose a little bit of your inner lip? Can you see the difference if I do like this? O, u, o, u. Do you get it? Hus, ute, luke. And the short u is quite similar, just, shorter in duration. Lukke, kutte, slukke. There is like a soft version of the English V, but it's not quite a W, it's somewhere in between. So if you just try to say the English V, and make it a bit softer, there. Your teeth should just barely touch your lip. There. Hvem? Hvorfor? There can also be silent if it's at the end of a word and being preceded by an L. Hall, selv, sølv. W, very uncommon. You will probably only see it in loanwords and some names. And when you do, it's usually pronounced like the Norwegian there. William, Wilhelm, Kiwi. X, again, very uncommon, and you'll most likely only see it in names such as Alexander. And when you do, it's just pronounced the same as the English X. E is also a letter that can be pretty hard to grasp because it doesn't exist in any other languages besides Norwegian and Swedish. Again, according to Wikipedia, I don't know. They might be wrong, but it's actually not that hard to make. All you have to do is say E, E, E. And while you're saying E, just round your lips, and that's all. E, E, E. Both E and E are close near front vowels. So the only thing that's different between the two is the roundedness of your lips. So if you just say E and round your lips as you say it, you should get a pretty good E. Ir, hyle, mye. And the short version of E is pretty much the same. Hyggelig, lykke, hylle. Sett is again very uncommon. You only see it in loanwords, and when you do, it's usually pronounced like S, which is probably why a lot of Norwegians, including myself, has a lot of issues with pronouncing the English Z. Am I even doing it right? Probably not. A is actually pronounced quite similar to the English A in bad. A. This vowel is near open, front, and unrounded. So your tongue should be quite low and quite a bit forward, and your lips should not be rounded. Lære, ære, sær. Ø. Ö is pronounced quite similar to the English U in burn. It's an open mid, front, protruded vowel. So your tongue should be quite close to the roof of your mouth and quite far forward. As for your lips, they should be rounded and slightly protruding, which we already talked about. Øre, føle, høre. Å. Å is pretty much the same as the short O sound, which means it's pronounced like the English O in more. Å. More. Å. Lår. Åre. Såre. And we are done. That is the Norwegian alphabet. And as I mentioned, I made a short little pronunciation quiz if you want to like test your abilities. So I'll be showing a vowel on the screen and you'll have about 5 seconds to pronounce it how you think it should be pronounced. And then I will pronounce it for you. Okay? Let's go. U. A. I. A. U. Y. Å. E. Ø. Okay, that's all I had for you guys today. I really hope you learned something. So if there is anything specific you want me to make a video about instead of a blog post, just leave a comment or send me a message on Tumblr and I will try my best to do it. And if there's anything I can do better while making a video, please tell me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I need all the help I can get, really. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys around. However, I feel like it's what was that? Bath. That was so bad. I am very sorry to all the bridge. What's a bridge?